that we have implemented these kind of mechanics, and FIFA, of course, is our big one. Our FIFA Ultimate Team and our packs is actually...
So this is EA, right? The addictive cost of predatory video game monetization. Number 35 on trending for gaming. So this is a big fucking deal.
Quite ethical and quite fun.
Unethical.
Turn this down. I like his intro.
Today's Jimquisition, both
He looks like a
personally
Batman
and
villain. I say it every
professionally,
time.
is an important one.
Okay.
You could almost say this one is the biggie. This is the result of me having spent a lot of time talking to Jimquisition viewers who have been kind enough to share their own stories. This is the result of me watching on in utter disbelief as the game industry proudly boasts and gloats about the ways in which it psychologically hooks people into unethical, unnecessary, aggressive video game monetization. This episode...
So he's not even, like, already we know that he's not playing any fucking games here. Like, he's mad already. Like, literally 1 minute into the video, he's mad.
More than any other, should indicate to you, should portray to you, should explain to you exactly why I am so committed to expressing my disgust towards the so-called AAA industry.
So-called.
This is a video on the internet.
That's true.
Please enjoy. Addiction is a disease defined by compulsive use of a substance or pattern of behaviour that one cannot stop, even as it has a severe negative consequence on a person's quality of life. The most famous form of addiction is
World of Warcraft.
Of course, uncontrollable drug use, as people all too easily can find themselves dependent on any number of chemical substances. Non-chemical addiction can be just as harmful, and because there is no exterior chemical component to point at as the villain, it's often misunderstood in a way that directly harms the addict.
Yeah, people don't know what to do.
Sex addiction, for example, is often portrayed as people just being horny miscreants hiding
Just being a
behind an
fucking
excuse
pimp, dude.
for
What do you mean?
infidelity and similar indiscretions.
This is great.
Those with eating disorders are dismissed as greedy, while on the opposite end of the spectrum, compulsive exercising is often overlooked because, hey, exercise is good for you, right? Not if you're doing it so much that you're actually tearing your body apart. Meanwhile, those with gambling problems or shopping addictions are all too easily written off as idiots who can't handle their money correctly. Non-chemical addiction is no less destructive than drug addiction, and I can speak from experience with both. I was in constant chronic pain for over 2 years with a spinal hernia, for which the only genuine treatment I got for the most part was armfuls of painkillers, which after 2 years became a severe dependence. At the same time, I've had friends cope with chemical addiction and...
Well, what do you mean? Like, gotta know about exercise? Well, no, alright, so you're gonna make fun of them being fat. Like, let's be honest. There are people, like, anything, you can develop a psychological addiction to fucking anything. Okay? Like, is it really that hard for people to understand that you can become psychologically addicted to eating food? I mean, come on. It's not hard to get there.
Sex addiction, and among my many non-chemical vices is a workaholism issue that sees me pour a dangerous, unhealthy amount of my self-esteem and sense of identity to the quality and success of the work I put out there.
Well, luckily I don't have to deal with that.
As mine, there are deeper psychological issues which addictive behaviour is used to cope with. My doctor, for example, cited hypomanic depression as a root cause for my abuse of drugs, a story all too common for too many people. Societal misunderstanding regarding addiction can compound the problem, but there are hundreds of thousands of businesses out there that do understand the power of addictive behaviour all too well and use that understanding to make money. One such industry is the video game industry, which has seen revenue skyrocket by billions since the widespread use of gambling mechanics, raking in cash off the back of those who need help. Not anime.
I still can't believe that people just let this happen. They're like just okay with it. It's always amazing how often people can defend a multi-billion-dollar company in doing things that are inherently predatory. Like people just like defend capitalism at the expense of their, you know, their own, I don't know, like well-being.
Treasure chests help to get themselves to a better place. But it isn't just loot boxes, they're an offshoot of microtransactions, and they themselves can be part of the problem. They themselves use psychological tricks, manipulation, to encourage compulsive spending, to appeal to compulsive shoppers.
Yep,
A huge amount of mobile games and microtransaction-led AAA games make the majority of their money from whales. The tiny percent of players who spend thousands of dollars on a single game. Who are these whales? Are they just rich kids with more money than sense? Sure, some of them will be, but not all.
No, most of them, I'm gonna say already, they're just idiots with they literally, they work at, let's say, AT&T. They work at a call center. They make $40,000 a year, and they only spend $20,000 a year. And they spend the other $20,000 that they have left over on FIFA game packs. I know that sounds fucking ridiculous, and that's because it is fucking ridiculous. And this is what they do. And I'm sorry to say, but like it's fucking sad. And it's like, it's the same with like people with like Twitch donations, right? And like, I'll be honest, okay? Whenever I see somebody donate, and I see this, like, it usually doesn't happen a lot on my stream, but like sometimes it does, and I always think it's a bad idea. Listen, if you need to save money, and you're donating to a Twitch streamer, and you put in the message, I'm running short on money, I think I've identified at least one problem that you have. Like, just, you know, if I had to say, you know, one way, it's like, you know what? I can see why you've got these problems with your money, right? Money is cheap right now. Yeah, I mean, come on. The people donate to like some streamer. They're like, oh man, dude, you know, my job fired me, but I still support the streamer. They donate like $100. Like, oh man, don't do that. Do not do that. They just want pity attention. I mean, you're right. You're totally right.
All of them. Maybe not even most of them. Just look up the stories of the people who get themselves into debt over FIFA games, or the children who get their parents into debt over such titles. And some of these spenders, some of these whales, may indeed be addicts. They may be depressed people looking for a temporary high. Some of them may have had their addictions actively egged on by...
Wait, is that an actual picture?
Looking for a temporary high. Some of them may...
Is this a real picture? It's no time to be stingy? I don't believe this. It is. Everybody says it is. Dungeon Keeper? Wow. Wow. You know, I like this, actually. Because it's right out there in the open. You know, there's no, like, it's like if somebody's gonna rob you, and they're like, bitch, I'm gonna rob you. I'm like, okay, well, at least you're telling me the truth. But if they're like, oh, you know what, you don't need all your money, and they start trying to rationalize it and everything, I just lose respect. If you're going to steal somebody's shit and convince them about spending all their money on some bullshit phone game that doesn't matter, at least have the devil do it. I mean, it's great.
Have had their addictions actively egged on by complete fucking scumbags like Tribe Flame CEO Tora Fjernstrom, whose gleefully malevolent lecture, Let's Go Whaling, is a proudly offered confession of exactly how low the game industry will sink to prey on both gambling and shopping addicts.
Wait, somebody donated $100. This is my last $50, but I love you more than food? Man, hey, thanks, dude. I really appreciate that. Yo, I feel like one of those preachers. It's like it's a gospel of prosperity. If you donate $100 to me, somehow you're going to make $100 somewhere else. You make $200 somewhere else, because that's what Jesus wants. I don't have a job or anything. I want you to have this. Don't worry. I don't need to eat healthy anyway. Mickey D's has always got my back. Easy clap. Drix, thanks to the $100, man. Appreciate that. Honest to God, got laid off on Sunday, sitting at home watching a stream instead of applying for a new job. Have some money? Hey, man. That won't last for long. So thanks a lot for the 5. I appreciate it.
Are you getting money again?
I am. I'm getting money even whenever I'm telling them about how it's a bad idea to give somebody money if you need money. Like,
I can't even tell you the amount of times I've told people on your stream not to donate to you, and they still do it.
yeah,
I mean,
well,
these guys are simpletons, man. These people are stupid as
and
hell.
I can understand, like, you know, reverse psychology. Oh, don't sub or whatever. But like, straight up, like, not even like no reverse, nothing. If you need money, don't donate it to a Twitch streamer. Like, I mean, you need to spend that money on, like, making your life better. And the reason for that is because I want you to have a better life. And that way, while I carry you through the depressing points in your life, you'll be working towards a better life. And whenever you achieve that better life, you'll be able to donate more money to me later on down the road than you would have been able to at the beginning.
Wait a second.
What?
That's kind of fucked up, because what you're saying is you only want people to be happy so that they can continue to work and give you money.
I don't care if they're happy. I just care if they have money. Yeah, the happiness is like that's irrelevant to me. Yeah, that's like it's like a secondary variable. It's not really a big deal. Let me read some more donations here. Oops, just a second. I fucked up there. We were right here, weren't we?
Out exactly how addiction plays a role in so-called whale hunting, describing how
I've listed here.
whaling is a proudly offered confession of exactly how low the game industry will sink to prey on both gambling and shopping addicts.
Yep.
Some of you will probably be slightly shocked by all the tricks I have listed here, but I'll leave the morality of it out of the talk. We can discuss it if we have time later.
Oh yeah, shocked is the word. And when I watched this 19-minute celebration of exploitation, I understood exactly why morality was left out of it. Because there is no fucking morality here. Janstrom lays out exactly how addiction plays a role in so-called whale hunting, describing how the upsale of player convenience gets people forming habits around a video game. This technique is known as hook, habit, hobby, and I'll let Torolf explain it.
Hook, habit, hobby. This is a model from Dimitri Dravano of Flare Games. It's a model for how people progress in a game. The hook is what gets you into the game to try out a free-to-play game. Then you build it into a habit that you play multiple sessions every day. And then at the end, it's the hobby phase where people see it as one of their main hobbies, and they put lots of time and resources into it.
That doesn't remind me of World of Warcraft at all.
Hook, habit, hobby scheme, we see an insidious method of monetizing compulsion. Like a cartoonish drug dealer from an 80s PSA video, the game introduces a good deal first with the aim of getting the customer habitually desirous of more. The concept of the icebreaker deal is downright sinister, and you'd think a casually dressed game dev explaining the concept like it's no big deal would lessen how ghoulish it sounds, but nope, oh my, nope.
The hook is where you put up an icebreaker. You want to give a really, really good deal, something that's a no-brainer. You would be crazy to turn it down as a player. The reason to give a really good deal up front is by making people spend up front, they are also emotionally committing to your game, their retention will go up.
There it is.
And the first spend is, it breaks the ice, then they think of themselves as spenders in the game. It's okay for me to spend in the game. Lots of people are otherwise have this wall up, I will never pay for a mobile game. So you need to break the wall.
It gets your foot in the door. That's basically what it is. You get them to just buy one little thing, right? As soon as the thing is, like, I used to have this rule with recruiting and poaching people from other guilds. If anyone would even so much as talk to me, I could get them to leave their guild. Every time. Like, if I ever was able to get them in voice chat, they would leave the guild 100%. Because it's like they wouldn't even do that. They wouldn't do that if they didn't have it in their mind that it would be okay. It's digital drug dealing, exactly. Frank Dallas donated $100. Wow! Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Thank you, dude. Morbasol, thank you much for the $7. I appreciate that too, man. A fraction of the cash over spent today on the lake. Well, thank you, dude. Thank you.
You got another 100?
Frank Dallas, man, coming in strong with the $100. Yeah.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, dude. Woo! There it is.
That's good.
It's good.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
First.
We'll get back to more from this person later on. Right now, let's look at a very different statement. A statement not from a whale hunter, but the brother of a so-called whale himself. A whale with a very genuine gambling problem whose love of video games helped him deal with that problem, only for said games to stab him in the back when money was to be made.
When my brother came of working age, he found work as a chef, and is still one. It's early morning to late at night hard work, so on the weekends he got into gambling. Casinos, betting slips, horses, everything except online gambling.
Damn, I don't know
It
why
got so bad my family had to actively manage his money and help him to stop burning his entire paycheck on this shit, as it meant he never saved money to move out. This eventually worked after months, and he started spending his free days playing video games, FIFA and Call of Duty. We always played COD together growing up, and we all agreed this was far healthier. Stupid me never took any notice of loot boxes, so I didn't click that this might be a problem. After another few months, he was always asking for money for this and that. Eventually, my parents had enough and found out that he needed the money because he was spending the majority of his salary and savings on loot boxes in FIFA, literally thousands of pounds. My parents now control his accounts and give him a weekly allowance. He's a grown man, for Christ's sake. He is not a rich person throwing money at a game to make it more affordable for us. He's a working class man who used loot boxes as a direct substitute to old world gambling. I was back for the summer to work for him.
Look, I mean, let's be honest, the brother's a dumb fuck. Like, I mean, I get that people are addicted to stuff, and I get that. But let's not also rule out the obvious elephant in the room that that is a dumb fuck thing to do. And, I mean, yeah, he's a fool. Yeah, he is a fucking fool. I don't... At a certain point, it's like... You use this same logic, like, people use this same logic on, like, games whenever they're, like, too addictive. You know, people say, oh, well, the game is addictive, etc. Right? It's like, is it really the game's fault that people lack self-control? I don't know. I mean, I think also, like, there is... But to go back on that, there is a big difference between somebody using their time versus using their money. And I think the money component is what really is meaningful. If you're addicted, then it's uncontrollable, self-explanatory. Yeah, I understand that.
To make some quick money, went back to play COD with him, and what do you know, it's COD World War II, and I noticed the fucking loot boxes. A little part of me sank when I saw that. Hope he finds a better way to deal with it.
And let me say this, right? You know all the people that want trigger warnings on everything because they can't control themselves and they get really... What, rare? Wait, what? Okay, let me tag him. I'm tagging him. Okay, good. Thank you, guys. It's like the people that want to put trigger warnings on everything because they can't control themselves. What's the difference between that and this? Well, I'm actually curious. Like, I haven't really thought about it a whole lot. Well, what's the difference? We saved him? Yeah, thank you, guys. Children? Or people are retarded? They need it? Well, kids are involved with the other one, too. The amount of money involved. So because there's a large amount of money involved, then it's actually, like, more harmful. Personal trauma. Okay, so you guys agree. So it's the money component. So, like, let's say the loot boxes didn't cost money, then they would be fine. No, because it's an addiction? Yeah, I mean, like PTSD is a real thing, too. So what, like, does addiction, like, have, like, a certain amount of, like, I don't know, like, allowances that PTSD doesn't? Right? Well, wait. What are the question marks for? I'm confused. Depends on the thing. Yeah, you lost me? Well, no. Addiction is harmful. Well, so is PTSD. I don't know. I feel like I'm not saying anything that doesn't make sense. What are you talking about PTSD for? Just a second. What are you saying? What are you talking about? Well, what I'm talking about is that people, like, basically what this argument is being made for is for the, like, the morality of society and everything to change, to disallow and to discourage people from creating content like this that preys off of people's addictive tendencies. So what is the difference of people trying to prevent people from, I guess, controlling themselves in this same way, and the people that are wanting to put trigger warnings on everything too? Like, what PTSD is an extrinsic disease not caused by an individual. No, I'm... How are they different? False equivalence between them. Why are you comparing two different mental problems? I'm not comparing the mental problems. I'm comparing the way that people want to deal with them. PTSD is a great example or comparison point. Well, nobody says why. Like, trigger warnings are a Trojan horse for political agendas. Okay, so there's no actual difference. Okay, I thought there's no difference. That's what I thought. Okay. All right, let's go back. We'll keep watching the video. This is apparently too complex of an issue for people to talk about. They're too emotionally invested in it for them to see the obvious difference and the obvious hypocrisy that's going on here. Go back to sub mode. No, it's okay. Are you tired? One person said, you want to hear him? No, because I know that it's the same thing. It's the same fucking thing. Both times you're protecting and you're making the entire world have to be confined around somebody else's sensibilities or problems. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. You can't monetize PTSD? Of course you can. You can monetize anything. You have like different like self-help workshops, like different things like that. Think about all the people that have like different things like, oh, you know, you have to like help yourself and, you know, all this other bullshit like that. It's very common.
These are the whales, so callously hunted by assholes with lanyards. It's very easy to suggest that these are people who should just be smarter with the money, that only a fool lets it get this bad. I refuse to believe that anyone that churlish about the situation has ever dealt with addictive behavior in their own lives. I simply refuse to believe it, because addiction simply does not work that way. You can't just switch it off. It's not that easy to simply stop. You can even know all day long that what you're doing is wrong, and you can consider yourself stupid, and you can know that it's harmful, but that won't stop you. It doesn't just stop on a dime, and the game industry knows this. That's why they go after those who will form habits. As we've already noted, addiction doesn't tend to form in a bubble. It more often than not is a symptom of and a response to other mental health issues, and it's not uncommon to find an addict with multiple chronic habits. In this next testimonial, we learn once again how easy it can be for the right victim to fall prey to the subtle machinations of video game gambling, as well as how those in recovery for addiction are playing a dangerous game when all they want to do is play an actual game.
I spent a good portion of my life constantly high and wasting all of my money on drugs. I met my partner, now fiance, in World of Warcraft, and with her help, I finally managed to get sober.
Look at that!
One big part of going through rehab and trying to control my addictive behavior.
Wow, is great.
One of the things I learned was to try and find a healthy replacement for the substance.
That's good.
Obviously, being a chronically ill hermit and geek that I am, I turned my focus back to my childhood love of video games.
That's good.
This, ironically, was around the time of the beta of Overwatch, and me and my WoW guildies loved it.
Oh no.
It was so much fun.
Oh no.
I loved the idea of collecting cosmetics.
Here we go.
Characters, as I am a big collector, and naturally fell into the trap of loot boxes. I kept getting sucked in with the spend more to get more trap that a lot of publishers use to get people spending. I lost track of the amount of money I spent, but thanks to rehab, I could quickly identify that this was dangerous behavior, and I quit playing the game.
Shit.
I spent the next few years jumping from game to game, leaving when the microtransactions got too much to bear. Rift was a nice distraction from WoW, and I had played it from beta.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It went free to play with loot boxes as well as a cash shop.
Not a surprise.
Guild Wars 2, cash shop and loot boxes.
Yep.
Deus Ex, a series I treasure, microtransactions.
There it is.
Assassin's Creed Origins, same thing. The place where I once found distraction and salvation is now preying upon my addictive nature and impulse spending problems. It hurts. It really does. I have had to turn away from $100 Australian games because they've implemented microtransactions, and the idea of popping in a few bucks to make life easier so tempting, and I keep falling for it. Again and again.
Jesus Christ.
My fiance has now taken away both my debit card and my PayPal details to try and curb this. It's a weird mentality of, it's only here for a limited time, and if I don't get it now, I may
artificial
never get it
scarcity.
again and not complete my collection.
Wait, what was it called? Store amounts removed. Wow. What was it again? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Remember this, guys? Go big, save bigger. The see you later bundle. Apparently Blizzard's been watching this too. Yeah, FOMO, yeah, fear of missing out. This is the same thing, as they remove different types of content in the game to create artificial scarcity, to make people feel like they need to buy the content now rather than wait later on. And that's obviously manipulative. Like, let's be honest. I mean, it is.
Hitting that buy now button, seeing the rewards pop up, the spinning of the dice or slot wheels ticking past the rare loot.
Yep.
The just one more rationale. It completely overrules any common sense like, you need this money to pay rent or your medical bills or food.
Yep.
When game industry mouthpieces claim microtransactions and loot boxes are fine because nobody's forced to buy them, I think of those who have had to move from video game to video game, actively pursued by the microtransactions that threatened to drag them back down the hole.
They can just play classic WoW now.
It's optional to justify microtransactions, willfully ignoring how video games are designed to be grindier and less convenient to make their time-saving in-game purchases way more appealing. None of us have the option to avoid deliberately bad game design in the video games we buy. And those with shopping addiction and gambling addiction have no option to even play these games without the risk of slipping back into destructive behavior. Now, I've shared my disgust with the video game industry here many times.
So do you think they should put like a label on these games and they say like, this game has microtransactions or whatever? I mean, the same as they have, like, you know, the T for teen and M for mature rated. I mean, maybe they can have, like, a picture of dog shit. And instead of having the normal cover of the game, they just have to put that picture of dog shit in front of it. If the game has microtransactions on it. And that'll kind of solve the problem and, it'll work itself out. Any full price game has them? Yeah, I don't know. What would that actually do to help? Well, basically, so it would do something to help if you're using the paradigm of people that are actively trying to avoid gambling, but once they encounter it, they can't they can't remove themselves from the situation in a healthy way. So if they know that they're going into a situation where there is gambling present, they can prevent themselves from even walking in the door. That's basically what it would potentially help.
Some understand my outrage, others not so much.
Okay.
It is my hope that with these testimonials juxtaposed against the sheer negligent insensitivity of men like Torolf Jernstrom will go some way to explaining why an addict like myself, who would more than likely be a victim of in-game gambling, were I not already so professionally against it, would be so utterly fucking furious at what the video game industry has encouraged in recent years. The industry not only knows what it's doing, it's celebrating it. It's doing it in public, at conferences and 100%. In calls, sharing the knowledge and the tactics that instill habitual spending among their audiences. There is a veritable treasure trove of evil fucking wisdom out there that doesn't attempt to hide how predatory this industry has become. None of this is a secret. None of this is obscure. This is out in the open.
Hot State. There's an excellent book about behavioral psychology called Thinking Fast and Slow. I'm telling you that the fast thinking mode is what you want. The slow thinking is your analytical brain. What's 12 times 47? I'm sure all of you can answer that, but you have to start your actual thinking brain to do that. Our brain works in these two modes, and starting the analytical part of your brain is too much to ask for a spend. Make stuff immediately useful, immediate gratification. If you have level-based.
You don't think about it. And this is something that I used to do with people all the time whenever I would try to sell shit, is you try to make them make the deal as fast as possible. You get their money as fast as possible, because the longer they think about it, the higher the chance that they're going to say no is. So you want to, you hit them fast, you get their fucking money, and then after that, it's over. So that's basically, it's a good idea. And like you do this all the time. And so if I see anybody that's even like hypothetically like maybe gonna do it, I immediately do something, right? This is the same with like guild apps, right? Is I would do something to make that person commit right then. Yeah, you immediately, yeah, no trade backs, exactly. Have you considered selling cars? Yeah, actually. People do on Shark Tank too? Well, yeah, exactly. Understand what whales are, dopamine dysregulation syndrome. Well, yeah, I'm sure that I don't need to know what, Google that to get an idea probably of what that is. But yeah, this is a very, very common technique used in all types of sales, right? Get the sale as fast as possible. That way the consumer doesn't have or the buyer doesn't have a chance to look and, you know, analytically evaluate, you know, the value of the sale or not. And that's even like something you can add as a value, right? Immediacy, instant gratification. That's something that's a very, very strong selling point for certain things. So consumers even seek this out themselves because they don't want to think about it. And that way they can avoid the, you know, the, what's that word for it? Not cognitive bias. The thing where like you regret buying something in the past. I remember what that was. Buyer's remorse. Cognitive dissonance. Yes, cognitive dissonance.
And you sell some boosters up front,
yeah.
For instance, a coin doubler or some other stuff that will help you. People will have to analyze and think it through. These things are good for me, these will help me progress before they do it. If on the other hand you do like, for instance, in this temple run, once your game is over, save me, I have a few seconds to spend hard currency and I get to continue. The
right.
IKEA effect.
It's not cognitive dissonance. Yeah, well, whatever. Buyer's remorse, right? I mean, whatever you want to call it. In my mind, yeah, I might have confused the two terms, but that's basically what I mean. But buyer's remorse, for lack of a better term.
This is to say, stuff that we put work into, we value more highly. You know, IKEA really sells you cardboard stuff. It's shit. But
okay.
You value it still somehow slightly higher because you actually built it yourselves. There's a trigger to remind us to do something. Then we go do an action. We get the variable reward, just like
right.
the gachas. We get the lottery ticket. And
yeah,
then to really hook it down, we need to ask people to do something for us, do a little bit of work, because then they become emotionally attached to that. Anchoring is fun. Anchoring means that when we don't know the price of stuff, the first price we hear suggested for it becomes our anchor, and then we compare everything to that. Some games, immediately when you're in the tutorial, they suggest to you, you should buy this good IAP for 50 euros or something like that. I go like, oh, that's expensive, I'll never do that. Of course, no. And I expect them to say no. Then again, I come back like, a few sessions later and suggest they buy it for 15. And I'll say, that's a good value, because my anchor was at 50.
Get people...
Oh yeah, we do this all the time too. You have a high price, and then later on, you know, you give them the actual price. I mean, that's fucking simple. Like, that's not even actually technically illegal. Not in WoW. Not online. Like, it's not online. This is what they do all the time. Right? I mean, this has been, yeah, it's called price fixing. It's not price fixing. But it's like, imagine you're selling something for $50, right? And you put out $50, and somebody's like, wow, it's a lot of money. I don't want to buy that. And then you put it out for 15 later on, and they think, oh my God, wow, that's so much fucking money. You know, or sorry, I'm saving so much money, because it's usually $50, right? So basically a real world example of this is whenever something from Apple goes on sale.
To knee-jerk spend, to not think about what they're doing as they're doing it. Keep the pressure up with limited offers, fixed prices to make each spend more appealing. Get players a sense of emotional as well as financial investment. Maintain the sunk cost fallacy as long as possible. Everything I've ever ranted and raved about on the Jimquisition is not only supported, but gloated over by people in the industry. Right down to the bullshit excuses I've had to demolish before, such as spreading the nonsense that microtransactions are required in order to support developers. In fact, Jernstrom notes that you don't even have to be all that convincing in your lies.
If we tell people they are a certain way, if we compliment them on being nice, good citizens, they are more likely to behave as nice, good citizens. So you should actually tell your players that they are generous individuals who have a taste for good art and want to support their game developers by paying you and buying IAPs.
Oh, God, I love that, dude.
Also, to tell people the reason to do something makes them much more
great.
Likely to actually follow through and do that. Spend because reasons. The reasons don't even have to be that good in order for this to work.
The total bollocks spelled.
That's the way it goes. You know, is that people in like the, you know, these companies, right? Is that people think that they're being business-minded whenever they defend something like a store mount or whatever. When actually, in reality, they're just being fucking stupid pawns by the company, right? That's all it is. It's the same exact fucking thing. Customer appreciation sale, yeah, support esports, etc. Treating people like children, well, they are. Most people have, like, the people are so fucking stupid, you'd be amazed. Like, here's how you can tell how dumb somebody is, or people are. Go try to raid lead a 40-man raid in Classic WoW. Stand here, somebody moves. Don't jump, somebody jumps. Move left, someone goes right. Wait a minute, somebody moves forward. Don't pull, they pull. Like, they're just fucking dumb. There's a lot of people that are really stupid out there, man. It's crazy.
On behalf of the game industry justifying aggressive microtransactions and gambling mechanics is not only perpetuated by people within the industry, but people without it as well. And it's always dismaying to me to see games media, games journalism, you know, structures that should hold the industry to account going to bat for them. Most recently, and most disgustingly, there was an article on Polygon called Anti-Loot Box Bill Poses a Real Threat to Sports Video Games, with the tagline, how else are these billion-dollar licenses paid? Fuck you.
These modes, if they don't directly pay for the games we enjoy, at least justify the workforces and development costs that make them worth playing. That oily microtransaction money, hard as it is to defend even in the abstract, helps those women and men deliver something that meets the unrelenting it's in the game standard we've taken for granted for a couple of decades.
No, they don't. They were being delivered before microtransactions happened. You fool. And as we've already explained...
Yeah, because things just keep getting more and more expensive. I mean, that is true. Blizzard became big without microtransaction bullshit. Well, yeah, every company almost did. But nowadays, it's like kind of just assumed. And the thing is that I think there's a lot of people that are like these like fanboys, right? This is all sales 101. You're right, So Stoked. Thanks for the $20, man. I appreciate that. Differences platforms now exist to make these micro instant transactions possible. Is minus 20 gonna starve now? Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. Have fun. No, he's completely right. Game journalists despise gamers, so it's no surprise. Well, yeah, of course they do. Most people hate their customers. You know, I mean, like you go to, like you think the Walmart employees like you? You go to the Apple store, they think you're a fucking idiot. Like almost every type of employment, like any sort of employer that interacts directly with its end user probably hates the end user. 100%. Not true? Oh, fuck yeah, it's true. Fuck yeah, it's true. Like, yeah, I'm sure that the person at Bed Bath & Beyond was so happy to help you. It's not true with every person. Oh, wow, there's an exception. But no, I would say it's true with most.
The whole microtransaction support the developers line is bullshit.
It's bullshit. The routine layoffs this industry has, often to celebrate things like record revenue intake, wholly demonstrates that. People are losing their jobs all the time, regardless of how much money is flowing into the industry. The article essentially boils down to, won't somebody please think of the corporations? And relies on the age-old myth that video games are just too expensive for multi-billion-dollar companies to make them anymore. In doing so...
And they don't need to worry about these stupid fucking graphics. Like, nobody gives a shit if you get some dude in a weird fucking suit to move around. That way the guy's arms move in the right way. Nobody gives a fuck about that. Like, nobody cares. Just make the good game. Make a good game. Like, nobody cares about how weird, or is he blinking in a natural way? It's not real. Everybody knows it's not real. Like, it's going to be another, like, 20 years, 10 years at least, till they can make things that people genuinely think is fucking real. Nobody gives a shit about that. They're spending all this money on things that the consumer doesn't even care about.
So the article does hit upon a very real problem, but the understanding of the problem presented is completely fucked.
Nobody publicises exactly how much their cash cows bring in, of course, but it's instructive that Take-Two agreed to a deal paying the NBA $1.1 billion over the next 7 years. That's double the value of the last deal, which was inked in 2011, well before virtual currency was introduced to my career. I don't think Visual Concepts replaces that dough by reselling NBA's greatest DLC or the Sprite Slam Dunk Contest.
Polygon's writer suggests...
Listen, if you can't make money in an industry without addicting people to your product, maybe you don't deserve to exist in that industry. Like, if you have to do things that are complete bullshit like that, maybe you don't deserve to exist. Maybe the market should weed you out and somebody should come in that can make something a better product that doesn't have to rely on manipulating its customer base. That's actual capitalism there.
That sports games would suffer under recent pushes to regulate loot boxes because the licenses for the sports in question are now costing billions.
It's a lot of fucking money.
Because the writer is so close to the truth there, so close to the issue, but decides the best solution is to put gambling mechanics in these fucking video games rather than ask why a sports association is charging so much bloody money for the rights to make a game that said association directly benefits from. Let's not forget these licenses were perfectly affordable before loot boxes came along. It's only post loot box that suddenly they're far too expensive. I mean, imagine a hypothetical world where Electronic Arts suddenly couldn't afford the rights to make a FIFA game. As if FIFA would allow a year go by without a FIFA game existing.
Yeah, of course.
Fucking real.
Of course.
If for some reason one of these publishers couldn't afford to make a FIFA game, and let's be honest, they'd find the money somehow, likely the price for the licenses would go down. All this fucking Polygon article does is argue in favor of the perpetuation of a problem in order to perpetuate another problem, suggesting gambling mechanics should stay in video games so that sports associations can keep charging through the arsehole for their licenses.
That's what happens when you live inside a system and you can never think outside of it. People just never think outside the fucking box. This is the same type of, like, one-dimensional logic that people use to justify store mounts too. Gamers rise up.
This weak article completely hand waves away any real issues, any real concerns people have with gambling mechanics as coming from people who just hate EA or were just angry about Star Wars Battlefront 2. Pissed.
Do you want to know why these game game journalists do this? It's because if they outwardly show a type of adherence and support for the companies, even whenever the companies are doing something bad, that tells the companies, I'm on your side. If you're telling them that you're on their side, who do you think gets the first chance to look at the new games? Who do you think gets the first chance to talk to developers? Who gets the extra scoop? Who gets the new content? Always the people that suck dick. That's how it works. That's why they're doing this. It's not like because they're just these, super capitalist corporate shills. They're doing it as a method of self-preservation. And whenever they get the extra information about, whatever it is from the companies, it's the companies basically rewarding them for supporting practices like this. And it's just, this isn't even like a formal conspiracy. I think George Carlin said this. There doesn't need to be a formal conspiracy whenever interests converge. They're all just acting in self-interest. They're not sitting around in a room deciding this. They're just doing it naturally.
I knew this video I was working on was coming when that article went out, and I had to bite my tongue at the time because I was saving it for now. Having had already spoken to gambling addicts, shopping addicts about this topic, to see concerns so sneeringly batted away in favor of complete corporate propaganda thoroughly disgusted me and continues to disgust me. Games Press should be holding these companies to account, but they can't even comprehend why loot boxes and microtransactions overall are so fucking poisonous.
What's the quote? Another quote by, who is it, Upton Sinclair? It's very difficult to get a man to understand something whenever his livelihood depends on not understanding it. Is that it? I think it's something to that effect. That's basically what it is. Exactly. Yeah, that's what this is. Quotes for days. Listen, I have a very good memory. I remember a lot of shit. Of course, they're not gonna understand this. It's because it's in their best interest not to. Give me a fucking break.
Because they don't think about the prey. They don't think about the people these companies are preying on. They only see them as whales, dehumanized whales. And that misunderstanding has to stop. They're not rich kids with enough money to spare.
I just thought of that. Yeah, whales is dehumanizing. Because they're not a person, they're a fucking whale. I never thought, that's actually really good. Wow.
They're not goddamn sea mammals.
It's so surface level, but you never think of it.
Vulnerabilities that this game industry is exploiting, knowingly, gladly, greedily. And I am overhearing
human pinatas filled with dollars. I like that.
They are bloody tenable. The regulation of loot boxes might not be pleasant, and it's not something I explicitly gunned for, but I did warn the game industry that it was coming, that if they kept pushing these microtransactions, if they kept pushing the limits to see exactly how much they could get away with, they would end up with a fight on their hands once politicians got interested. I said this time and time again.
By got interested means that either their grandchildren finally figured out how to attach their card to, you know, their grandchildren's Fortnite account, or the politicians become old enough to where they actually play video games and understand the internet. Like, because you know, like, I mean, they have no fucking idea. They don't know they have no idea. I genuinely think a lot of them are completely technologically illiterate.
And no one bloody listened, and now look where we are, and it's on the industry's head. It's on their head, nobody else's. It's their problem. They do not deserve people taking up arms and defending them because they merrily walked into this situation.
Yeah, of course.
And ultimately, if you need gambling mechanics to keep your fucking games going, you shouldn't be in business.
There
the world
it is.
Can do without
there it
your
is, right there.
Exploitative crap. Not that
you don't deserve
really
to be in the
need
market.
them. You didn't need them before. You'd find a way to work around it if
selection.
they were to go away. It's always about greed. It's not about need. And if you trip over yourself to apologize for what these corporations do, you are little more to them than a useful idiot.
To have any chance of turning players into payers, game developers need to get their in-app purchases right.
Offers and scarcity plays into the loss aversion. If there are rare cards up here, and you see the goblin going with his clocks, tick-tock, I'll take it away from you, I'll take it away from you. They are scarce, they go away. This is a brilliant way to get more.
Monetize, retain, acquire. This is the mantra of the modern video game industry. It's been the creed of the shit-sucking mobile sector for years and years, and in recent times from the...
I'm actually kind of impressed by this, is that people use goblins basically as a caricature for Jewish people, and it's just accepted. Like, it's just accepted. Like, goblins really like money, and they just somehow have every single other type of, like, you know, physical characteristic as like the stereotypical Jewish person. Right? This is just accepted. It's not TOS. How's this fucking TOS? I'm calling it out. I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying it's happening. Like, you notice, like, am I the only person that doesn't notice this? Come on. Give me a fucking break.
Tail end of the last generation to now, it's increasingly become the creed of the so-called AAA game publisher.
Nobody's ever said
Monetize, retain, acquire, form those habits, trick those customers, turn those players into payers. As one disgusting organization once suggested, much of what they are doing is unethical, much of it is certainly immoral, so much so that little talk givers need to check their morals at the door to even discuss the tactics at play. And the industry gets away with it because such addiction is so often misunderstood. Another testimonial I received, one of many more than discussed in this video, described how they got hooked on a MOBA that used social pressure to keep people spending, and how nobody would help them when they sought support to stop. Uni's response: it's not gambling, it's not an addiction, they said. They offered me zero support because the counsellors simply couldn't get their heads around that I was addicted to wasting money just for friends on a video game. There was nothing. No support, just another round of adults who drowned my voice out, and I was berated for not having a real problem and just being a spoiled child. Peer
this is the same shit.
Pressure is just another way the industry makes money off the back of vulnerable people.
Everybody else has it, but you don't. There you go.
Recently, news broke that kids are being bullied for only having default skins in Fortnite.
Hey. I mean, look. Like, kids have always...
Dude, that's true. I remember that being true because you would see someone, when Fortnite was, like, going fucking crazy, you'd see someone and they were like, oh, he's a default skin, he sucks.
Well, yeah, but, like, I mean, you can say that in game. It's like saying somebody has, like, a dumb mount in game or whatever, right? Like the albino Drake or something stupid, like Bronze Drake. But, like, the fact that that's transcended the game environment and it's now just, like, a thing in real life, that's impressive. I mean, you think about this, right? You have the kids telling each other to spend money on this game with predatory practices that hurt the industry. I mean, that's something special, boys. That really is. Just a second. I'm going to get to, speaking of predatory practices and random things, I'm about to get this mount right here. Watch this.
While the game is free, children are pressured to keep up with their friends to maintain a social status by not being the poor scrub with the bargain basement cosmetics. Youngsters are reportedly begging their parents for Fortnite money because nobody will play with them otherwise, and the word default itself has become a derogatory term in schools. And if you think that's just kids being kids, that the game industry cannot possibly be held to account for this, well, guess what else Mr. Jernström said?
We are herd animals. We tend to do what all of the others do. You all sit quiet listening to me because that's what all of the other guys do here. So,
while you're listening to this, think about what we were talking about with spitting on people for the mounts, okay?
Especially when people are similar to us. This means that you should have... the socially accepted way of behaving in your game should be paying. You want to tell people, for instance, when a clan member of theirs spend IAP money, you want the whole clan to know, because then that becomes the socially acceptable way of behaving.
Pegging? Freudian slip.
Absolutely do not want to tell them that the majority of people in your game never spend money. That's poison. Never tell them that.
Am I demonstrating this fucking clearly enough now?
If you feel good for buying a microtransaction, you're going to buy more of them. If you feel bad for buying a microtransaction, you're not going to buy more of them. It's really just that simple. So if people get spit on for buying a microtransaction and treated badly in the community, that's going to disincentivize them to buy more microtransactions in the future, assuming that that type of social reinforcement is negative in their perception, which I think that it generally is. So that's why we thought of this idea, right? It's actually McConnell thought of this idea, but it's fucking brilliant. Like, whenever you think of it, it's really, really... What?
Don't lay it on me, dude. I don't want to get in trouble for this.
Great, it was my idea.
It wasn't me. It was. I took it from chat like I take everything.
Okay, well, I thought of the idea. Yeah. I thought of it, the whole thing.
It was you, man. It was you.
Yeah, I thought of the whole thing.
Am I effectively showcasing that this industry has nasty parasitic bastards in it that know exactly what they're doing and not only don't care, but are proud of themselves.
Yes.
And it's not just Jernstrom. You'll find men like him absolutely everywhere if you know which stones to turn over. David Zentel is a researcher and lecturer who has devoted much of his time to the study of loot boxes. In a paper published in June of 2019, he noted that while he cannot claim loot boxes create problem gamblers, there's evidence to suggest problem gamblers are certainly exploited by them. According to his findings, when loot boxes were removed from Heroes of the Storm, problem gamblers, and only problem gamblers, spent less money on the game. The spending habits of other players didn't change. The spending habits of the gamblers did because the gambling was gone. There are many studies showing a correlation between gambling addiction and loot boxes, but correlation is not causation, I will say that. However, the near identical psychological similarities between loot boxes and gambling, coupled with reports like those from Zentel, support the idea that those with addiction struggles are routinely...
That's actually true, because if I want something in the game, right, a microtransaction thing like a free game, for example, like in Path of Exile, I just simply go and I buy more stash tabs. Like that's all I do. I just buy more stash tabs. So if actually like what they're saying is true, then maybe they should make it like fucking illegal or something like that to actually have like random loot boxes.
Preyed upon by an industry that, regardless of whether they create compulsive gamblers, sure as shit profit from them. And as Electronic Arts' illegal VP sits before a parliamentary committee trying to rebrand loot boxes as surprise mechanics and claiming they're ethical because people enjoy them, I need to stress just how dirty the
bestiality. People enjoy bestiality. I mean, if you fuck a dog, I mean, you're probably enjoying it. That's why you're doing it. Right? I mean, does that make... I guess that makes it ethical. I mean, there it is. Well, people enjoy it. I mean, a dog probably doesn't. I mean, I can't know for sure, but I'm going to assume that he probably doesn't. And I don't know. I mean, this is pretty fucking insane. So, I mean, I remember whenever we did the Apex loot box thing, right? Like, there are some people that got mad about that. I guess I'd be missing out on those types of streams because that was a good fucking stream. But that being said, holy shit. If they actually removed all that stuff, maybe that'd be a good thing.
Well, dude, think about this.
Okay.
You did those streams.
Yeah.
And people were donating to you in order for you to buy more crates. And some of those people probably needed that money for, like, rent
well, they're
or bills and
vicariously
shit.
gambling.
Through you.
Yeah,
so
that
don't
was
you
the whole
feel?
reason.
Don't you feel a little? I mean, surely you feel a little bad for that, right?
No, I don't feel bad for anything, ever. I don't. Yeah, I didn't feel bad for that at all. I knew they would do it, even with that intent in mind. Like, no, why would I feel bad? I got the money, right? I mean, of course not. Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. To me, it's like the way I look at it is that in life you're either a predator or you're prey, and that's it. And if you don't try to get what you can for yourself, other people will not only get what they can for themselves, but they'll take whatever you have, and then they'll take it for themselves. That's it. That's the way that I've thought ever since I was a little kid. Yeah, you can call me whatever you want. I don't care. I've never been a person to apologize for who I am. Yeah, dog eat dog world. That's all there is to it. Yeah, in life, you're either pro or you're noob. That's life, exactly. So yeah, anyway, like, if they got rid of the random loot boxes, I couldn't really see that being bad for like, the user. Like, I couldn't, and like, yeah. I mean, if the research shows that, I mean, I don't know, like, if that research is valid or not, but, I mean, still, that's great.
Game industry's money is. It's not just dirty, it's filthy fucking money. The billions upon billions being funneled into the offshore tax havens of these video game companies stink of abuse. Shameless, profiteering, abuse. If it's not outright evil, it is amoral in the extreme, and they flaunt their immorality in public with the smug, satisfied self-confidence of monsters who've gotten away with it. Just go back and watch. Again, the sneering manner in which EA's Kerry Hopkins patronizes her way through an explanation of what
probably
loot
thanks for the
boxes
5
are.
subs, man.
Just go
Appreciate
and
it.
read the articles from dozens of industry mouthpieces who disregard criticisms of microtransactions because if people didn't want them, they wouldn't spend money on them.
How can you be this fucking stupid? Like, I mean, really, how can you be that fucking stupid to use that logic? I genuinely don't even know. It's insane to me. Where the fuck is my Pepsi? Am I out of Pepsis? Shit!
Just drink some water,
I
man.
don't have any water. I have a Coke. That's all I have. What a bunch of bullshit, man. So that, yeah. Where's my Pepsi? I know, dude. It put me in an
That
institution.
argument, in the face of the compulsive strings microtransactions pull, is as weak as it is despicably dishonest. There was a comment on Reddit once that said, Jim Sterling is not pro-consumer, he's anti-AAA. And I'll take that. That sounds fine by me. I do hate what the mainstream industry has done to the medium. How the unchecked, unimpeded greed that fuels corporate decision-making has turned games into grindy, unsatisfying money vacuums, all in the name of psychological ambush. I say this not with affected internet outrage, but with a genuine, understated, ice-cold fury. I genuinely hate most video game publishers, their executives, and every seedy, slimy, corrupt thing they've done to both the industry at large and, more importantly, their many victims. You damn right, I'm anti-AAA. Hopefully this video has gone some way toward explaining the level of anger I have when it comes to talking about mainstream AAA video games. It should explain why. Whenever I say AAA, I struggle not to do it in a sneering, condescending, mocking voice, because, I mean, I've always found that the designation AAA is arrogant on the part of the game industry. It's a sign of arrogance, just showcasing that they think they're so far above everything else, when nothing they do actually qualifies them for a designation of 3 A's. A is supposed to be good in grading, and the AAA video game industry is not AAA, it is triple shit.
What the AAA gaming industry is really good at is spending a lot of money and a lot of resources on things that the actual consumers don't care about, such as being able to get corrective eye tracking and making sure that the hand movements on the characters are completely realistic. These are the things that the AAA game developers are very, very good at. And these are also the things that nobody cares about besides other AAA game developers. Graphics. Nobody really cares about how good the graphics are, right? Graphics are basically a benchmark. If you meet a certain benchmark for graphics, people will buy the game. Now, if you have something like RuneScape or like maybe Classic WoW, then yeah, you've got some problems. But overall, you just meet a benchmark, people are happy. They spend all this time and resources on hiring personal fucking real life models for the characters. Nobody cares about that. It doesn't make a difference to an average player. It's a complete, like, it's stupid to me in my mind. It's actually stupid. I'm amazed that they do it.
That showed them their triple shit. Anyway, I hope that this video indicates to you that I don't do this for, as some people call it, outrage clicks. I do this because I fucking care, because I give a shit, because I truly believe in my heart that this is an important topic, that I do hold the values that I express when I talk about microtransactions and loot boxes and whatnot. You know, I hold those values true to myself. I really do believe that when I talk about this, I am right. I wouldn't say it if I didn't think I was right.
We would hope so.
No, I was
We would
right.
hope so.
I truly am not optimistic about where the so-called AAA video game industry is going. Comprehensive, complete feeling productions are becoming rarer and rarer. Shallow, threadbare, unfinished games that are designed deliberately poorly so that you can pay extra to improve the experience. They're becoming the norm. The idea of the service video game is a lie, because it isn't a service. Well, it's not a service they provide to you. It's a service you provide to them. You are giving them, you are inviting them direct access to your wallet. They sit back and collect money off you simply for existing. And they spout lies lies and propaganda that are then perpetuated by their defenders, by certain journalists, by spokespeople in the industry. And it's a racket. And it's shameless and it's disgusting.
Shameless.
Thank you so much to the people who did share their stories. Thank you so much to people who showed me some of these open boasts from the video game industry itself. Thank you to Casey Explosion, to H-Bomber Guy for reading the testimonials we had. Thank you for watching. And of course, thank God for me.
True. Okay, fine.